Hello world, I'm Carp. Welcome back to 80 Days, where we are traveling on the Trans-Siberian Express and making, well, we lost almost 1/4 of the whole thing, of the whole time, but as soon as we get to like the end of this express train, like we're at a pretty good point, I would think. Like we only need to cross the ocean and the Americas and then another ocean, so I feel like this is well, I feel like we wasted some time at the beginning, but this is, I feel, a very good point right now. Rosa absconded once again, and her mother caused quite a ruckus in the breakfast car. Apparently, the girl is affianced to a rich, rather stiff-looking German merchant who boarded at Omsk. I predict this comedy of errors will come to no happy end. As the sun set over the taiga, Monsieur Fogg expressed a mild boredom with the monotonous view from the carriage windows. My own feelings were quite different as I stared across the wild view, a view I liked so much that once night had fallen, I went to stretch my legs on the viewing platform for the second night in a row. Okay, so that did pretty much nothing. Let's converse. Didn't have time to click that button there. Okay, let's deal with Fogg. Thank you, your attentions are most beneficial. Yes, they are. Let's deal with Fogg some more. A starch color, very good indeed. Yes, it is. And now we're at Irkutsk. We crossed the halfway mark of our journey today. In the morning we wound up the Angara Valley towards the mining camp of Irkutsk, the great city of Siberia. I saw Golan disembarking with her suitcase of books and struggling under the weight. I rushed to her aid, but she brushed my help aside. "Generous, sir," she murmured, "but I cannot be seen to be held by a Frenchman." I stood back, stung, and watched as she met a man on the platform, an uncle perhaps, who scooped her up with great familiarity and led her away to a horse parked neatly in the court beyond. Then she was gone. We waited while the luggage was unloaded. Yeah, I'm not gonna disembark. It just feels to me like that's always a bad idea. Like, cause this has happened to me in actual life once that I was on a train. Well, I was drunk at this moment, so that kind of explains. I went outside just to walk a tiny bit on the platform, and then the train left, and I was like, well, that's unfortunate. But you know, I was young, and I had the kind of and I had like a ticket that was valid for even the next train, so I just waited on the platform for the next train and went on my way. But I feel like if we do that here, in this game, that's gonna happen to us, and we're a Frenchman and an Englishman in Russia, something bad's gonna happen. So we're never gonna really leave this train until we're at the real actual end point. We waited while the luggage was unloaded by leisurely porters and rough-clad mujiks until the whistle blew and the train's engines wound up once more. Our journey continued, and by afternoon we had reached the magnificent expanse of Lake Baikal, as clear as the finest crystal, bounded by flower-banked cliffs on the western shore and containing a thriving raucous population of freshwater seals. The track ended at the lake's edge, but the great train showed no signs of slowing or stopping. I began to feel, as my master would say, a little perturbed. Now, my friends, this next sentence will seem to you the invention of a madman, but I assure you it is utter, unvarnished truth. We drove straight from the shore onto the clear water of the lake, causing barely a ripple. I looked out of the compartment window and saw the wheels pulled up, and zut alerts! The train was hovering in the air through some unseen mechanism. I looked for the tracks and could only just see them against the gleam of the lake. They were cunningly built upon pontoons which only just broke the surface of the water, though we did not touch them. What sort of train was the Trans-Siberian? I do not know. I contrived a meeting with the mysterious couple, though to be strictly accurate, I knocked over the red-haired woman entirely accidentally. She was very game about the whole unfortunate incident and introduced herself as Madame Ksenia Petrovna Volkova. I apologized profusely at the point where she clearly felt rather sorry for me and invited me back to her heavily guarded carriage. Her companion turned out to be an engineer by the name of Sinan Yahudi, who seemed lonely and eager to converse in any language other than Russian. He had defected from the Ottoman Sultans to the Russian Tsars some years ago and was the genius behind the rapid construction of the Trans-Siberian Railway. He seemed reluctant to talk of it, and so I changed the subject to lighter topics. He had a particular fascination with minerals, and I could hold forth on them for hours. I listened eagerly, nodding and exclaiming at the more obscure facts which he revealed to me with relish. He rummaged in his bag and presented me with a chunk of glittering green malachite. This was mined in the Urals. "I want you to have it, Passepartout," he said. It has some value. I hope it will be of use to you. The hour grew late and I took my leave. Madame Volkova thanked me for entertaining her companion and warned me to say nothing of what Monsieur Yehudi had told me to anyone, with a smile that belied her light-hearted tone. A strange day. Your character is now polished. Let's polish fog a little bit. Yes, my care, of course it is highly calming. We'll try to polish you pretty much every chance we get because we're losing so much health on this trip. There is little to report of the outside world, so a word today on Russian eating habits, more specifically the Russian distaste for regular meal times. I met a fellow Frenchman today who said to me, the Russian meal is a guide to the Russian character. I made a jest about tastelessness, but he demurred. No, it's not that the Russian has no taste. He sacrifices his finer susceptibilities to his love of freedom. I resolve to keep this thought in mind on future approaches to the dining car. If our locomotive suppers are not triumphs of culinary art, they are at least as signal examples of logistical achievements. Okay, and let's heal fog some more. And let's converse with someone. Greetings, Madame Volkova. Passepartout. Let's start with Yokohama. I gather there is a regular Korean trader serves from Vladivostok to Yokohama, but it's slow going. You mentioned steamships. I've been told I met a man who used to talk about the Weeping Swan from Batavia to Manila. Did we know if there's a Yokohama-Honolulu? It's possible to go from Yokohama to Honolulu. Let's just say that some buyers will pay well for tobacco from Honolulu, but now I imagine you can't fathom what drives someone like me. No, you are a mystery. Ah, Passepartout, you are flattering me, but you will do it well. That's about Honolulu. What more can you tell me about Honolulu? I don't find this topic interesting. Do you know if we can get from there to, I don't know, Pitcairn Islands? There is neither a hotel nor market in Pitcairn Islands. What about from Honolulu to San Pedro? Do you realize that you can pick up revolvers in San Pedro? Extremely valuable in Albuquerque. Goodbye. Okay, so find a route from Batavia to... That's... goes the wrong way. Okay. We pulled into Karimskaya at noon. From Karimskaya it was possible to reach on the Chinese Eastern Railway to Beijing. But we had further to go aboard the Let's think about this. So we could go to Beijing. That's Beijing there, right? And from there we could go to... probably to Pyongyang. Yeah, we don't know anything about Beijing, so yeah, let's just keep on this. But we had further to go aboard the Trans-Siberian. Rosa's mama interrupted a piece of our luncheon with loud and terrible wails. Apparently Rosa had eloped with her peasant lover Jack at Karimskaya, leaving her mother to appease her irate German fiancé. I tried to calm her to little effect. The woman was something of a battle axe, and I could not help but sympathize with Rosa, having had to deal with such an obstreperous creature. I plied her with brandy until she smiled like a giddy schoolgirl and escorted her back to a carriage at the end of the evening. Oh, we could have gone to Pyongyang from there. Let's converse. Greetings, Monsieur Nicholson. Now then, Passepartout. Okay, so we know that we can go from Vladivostok to Yokohama. Let's talk about Yokohama. And... would you know if we can go to Honolulu from there? You have to ask my secretary. Now anyway, tell me, is this train going to Moscow? No? We're heading east. Oh dear, so much for our westward trip around the world. Nonetheless, I've heard Lake Baikal is lovely at this time of year. What about Yokohama to Manila? Is there a route from Yokohama to Manila? Absolutely. One control about the steams and gates east from Yokohama to Manila. What about from Manila to Port Moresby? I don't know where Port Moresby is. Thank you, I've enjoyed our chat. Well, let's use the perfumed oil to chat some more. We smell these Monsieur Nicholson. They are delectable. Why, yes. Okay, let's still talk about... No, wait. He said that there was a route from Yokohama to Honolulu, right? So, what about from Honolulu to... Acapulco? I believe so. My mother once took the airship Reina Cristina from Honolulu to Acapulco. Well, what about... can we get back to... Well, can we go from Acapulco to Panama City? Did you know you can obtain magnifying glasses in Panama City you can sell for profit in Houston? Okay, let's use the English poetry. Are you a fan of poetry? Monsieur Nicholas, most generous. Let's talk about the... Still about Honolulu. Have you heard that you can buy accordions for Honolulu with huge amount in Atlanta? Okay, so from Honolulu to... Can we get to San Pedro? You'd have to ask my secretary. What about from Honolulu to... Auckland? Have you heard that the quickest way to Auckland from here is to go via Manila? Huh. That's quite a route. Oh, hey! We can get to Yokohama over there and then to Honolulu and all the way there. Oh, and there's... Why do we know this route? Santiago to Lima. Interesting. Okay, so... Yeah, we could get to Acapulco. There's San Pedro, there's San Francisco, there's Gastown. Okay, so basically we know a route now, but I don't think we'll have the money to go this way, but let's see if we can. Anyways. Monsieur Fogg conceived of a desire to read an English newspaper in the mornings, and so I resolved to track one down to make my master's journey more comfortable. It was not a simple matter, however, as most English periodicals were banned or heavily censored by the Tsarist. I prevailed upon Madame Volkova, who was only too happy to furnish me with the required materials, which I pressed and then presented to my master with a flourish that evening. And we're swayed. Yes, we've been swayed for a while, and our relations with Fogg have improved. Good, 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 good. Let's deal with Fogg here. And deal with him some more. We reached Ussuriysk today. Vladivostok, the final destination of the Trans-Siberian Railways, accessible only to military officials and those with special dispenser, being neither we... Okay, so... That doesn't sound good, but we know we can get from Vladivostok to... So... We got to... Well, we bribed the Provodnik £200 to let us stay on the train beyond our permits. The attendant was an understanding sort of chap, but he nonetheless took a hefty sum to ensure our passage. Crap. We'll need to wire London for funds as soon as we find a bank. I'm sure they will be prompt. Yes, yes, yes. Let's hope. Let's hope so. Just deal with some more. We disembarked at Vladivostok amongst crowds of uniformed officers and soldiers. We had traveled over 5,500 miles across the spine of the Trans-Siberian, which covered 1/3 of the Earth's circumference. My nerves were jangled, but Monsieur Fogg had barely stepped onto the platform before I was already plotting the next leg of our journey. Yes, you are in roaring health, that is good. Okay, plan. So, we wanna head to Yokohama in 2 days. Can we negotiate this? Yeah, no we can't. Okay, so we'll stay at the hotel. Yeah, we'll pass the night here. The military port of Vladivostok looked out over the calm black water of the Sea of Japan and was populated largely by sailors of Far East Fleet and a mix of Chinese, Korean and Russian residents. I visited Matroska Sloboda, sailor town, a hastily constructed set of low buildings sprawling out from the harbor. Sailors drank lemon tea or vodka in every doorway and talked only of one thing, the possibility of war with Japan. I saddled over to a female communications officer who sighed heavily. It is the railway. Japan fears how close Moscow has become. The whole world is growing smaller, I observed. Yes, just so. Britain and France have their empires in Indochina, and the Tsar is looking eastwards as well. After all, on a clear day you can almost see the shores of Japan from here. A sobering thought. The thin evening light had begun to darken by the time I made it back to my hotel, but my adventure here was far from over. An imposing Imperial Army officer accosted me in the reception and subjected me to a thorough search. I gave no objection, and he studiously went through our cases and my pockets, although of course he found nothing seditious. Vladivostok is a close port, he declared. You will be held while a decision is taken in your case. I pleaded with him, but I may as well have been begged the thunder not to roll. Oh crap. And so it was that we came to spend 4 nights in a Russian military jail, not an experience I would recommend even for the hardest of travels. When we were finally released, it was without much discussion. We were pointed ducks and told to leave, and quickly. Right, we can't even go to market then. Well, plan. Yeah, we just want to head to Yokohama. And that departs tomorrow, so can't leave yet. Let's explore then. New routes discovered, and we discovered a route to where? to Beijing. I walk the streets while discovering the possibilities for how we might make progress. Okay, let's check the market. Can we sell anything? Indian airship item table. Mongol Solday. Sell for 9. Sell for 3. Sell for 47. Sell for 10. Sell for 28. These are not... Ooh. That would sell for quite a lot of money, but we don't have that. It would then break our set, which would make traveling a little bit harder occasionally, I think. But 480, yeah, we just gotta sell it. It's an Indian airship timetable. We're not in India, so we're not gonna be needing this. Depart. No, not for Beijing. Wait. Okay, here. Tomorrow at 12 noon, so we need to wait for tomorrow yet. So, we'll spend one day at the hotel. We'll pass the night here. Yes. We took a room and settled in, and you know what? I'll attend to Monsieur Fogg. Providing him with clipped mustaches with the intention he would have a restorative night. Then, as I prepared for my toilet, I felt a hand grab mine and pull me around. I find myself staring into the face of a young lady. "How can I assist you?" I asked, firm but polite. "You are Mr. Phileas Fogg, correct?" the lady demanded. "Why do you ask?" "So you are then," she nodded. "It is a pleasure to meet you." I waited for her to continue. "I've been following your adventures with some interest," she continued. Then, smiling, she reached in her jacket for something. A flower with petals as black as jet. "The press call me the Black Rose." "But what are you doing here?" "Well," she sighed, "you're hardly making me feel welcome." She twirled the flower stem between her fingers and giggled. I could only stare in amazement. "And you plan to rob me?" Her expression turned serious. "Not at all. I have nothing against you or your wager, but I think we can help each other." "Keep talking," I murmured. She smiled. "I hope you realize I'm not just any thief, and at the moment I have set my heart on quite a special price. I think this particular escapade might be something you consider to be more acceptable rather than less." I waved her to continue. "You know of the Artificers Guild?" "Of course." "Of course," I replied. "We are most reliant on artificers and their creations." She nodded. "Then you'll know the Guild is a peaceable organization with no political aspiration. But I have been following their actions for some time, and I can tell you that not only is this not the case, but also they are amassing considerable power and wealth." "And I suppose it is the wealth that you are interested in?" I replied bitterly. "The wealth is interesting," she agreed, "but money is the venom of the viper. If you draw it away, the creature is quite powerless." She nodded. "And I, for one, do not wish to live in a world dictated over by artificers and their automata, which is why I have uncovered their weakness, and I intend to inflict an injury upon it." "But what has this to do with me?" "You are, I think, uniquely placed to assist me. Let me explain." She perched herself by my side. "I have learned that the wealth of the artificers has grown beyond what they might keep in the banks of any one nation without raising suspicion and paying large sums of taxes, so they have begun in secret to store it away in a vault of their own devising. That seems most wise of them. The wealth is stored inside a floating fortress kept in constant movement on the Atlantic so as to avoid detection or the attentions of pirates. It never comes ashore, but it's refueled by a gyrocopter." Her eyes twinkled with excitement. "Phileas, it is entirely unmanned. If we can get aboard there will be nothing to stop us taking the gold for ourselves." The scope of her plan stopped my breath. No less than to bankrupt the entire global wealth of the Artificers Guild in one stroke. "I need you," she said, "because I believe you'll be able to convince the Artificers to allow you aboard." "And why on earth would they allow that?" "Because you are going around the world in 80 days. You are Phileas Fogg, and your wager is the proof of the progress that the Artificers worship. In short, they will allow you aboard their boat because they like you." "But surely they would not risk their secret getting out." "Trust me," she replied. "Everything will be arranged. I'll see to it. You just need to get yourself to shore ready for the next time the ship comes into dock." "And where is that?" She grimaced. "I confess, I do not know yet, but I will discover it and let you know in good time. Watch for my word." Then the moment broke, and she laughed with relief. "Good night, my good Phileas. I must say, it's a relief to show myself to you finally. But you will not see me again for some time, I think. We do not want to compromise your reputation." And with that, she slipped away into the darkness more fluidly than I could have imagined possible, and I was left stunned and fearful to my very core. Now, I never claimed that I was Phileas Fogg in that conversation. She assumed that. Okay, let's make that clear here. I will trouble you not to talk so loudly to yourself in the night, but Okay, let's depart. Can we actually finally get to Yokohama? Yes, let's embark. We'll go on a Korean ship. We avoided the Russian military ships and instead took passage on a Korean vessel crewed by a mix of Koreans, Mongolians and Siberians who regarded Monsieur Fogg with grave curiosity. I considered charging £1 for a look at him. I might have made £20. They continued to goggle at my master in mild disbelief until he retreated below deck with the slightest of furrows etching his brow. Do we need to converse? Let's see. Yokohama. Yeah, we need to know if we can get from Yokohama to Honolulu, like straight up. Okay, let's converse. Greetings, mademoiselle. Good day, Frenchman. Okay, so Yokohama and to Honolulu. It's possible to travel from Yokohama to Honolulu. I would not hold out too much hope, monsieur. Now, anyways, I've learned to tie my own shoelaces. Excellent! You think I'm young and silly. I understand. What about from Yokohama to Pangsao Pass? I don't even know where Pangsao Pass is. I didn't know, but there is neither hotel, bank, nor market in Pangsao Pass. Well, what about from Yokohama to Port Moresby? I'm sorry, I have to run. Okay, understandable. For the first day aboard, we kept ourselves mostly to ourselves. The crew seemed busy with the task, and I was happy to have fewer of those myself. Monsieur Fogg was his usual impervious self, however, and made his calculations and read his newspaper. Meanwhile, the boat steamed onwards. Now we are presentable. Okay, so let's deal with Fogg. One of the cabin girls, Elena, spoke good English and was attached to us as a translator, though she created as much conversation as she explicated. Do you know my parents? I doubt it, since I have only just met you. Elena nodded. My father was a Russian officer, maybe, I think, and Mama comes from a famous Cossack family. They're all soldiers. Your maman is a soldier? I blinked. She dressed as a boy and joined the Cossack host. Elena wrinkled her nose. My auntie and grandmama were soldiers too. Mama says, but I have to earn enough money for my own horse and armor before I can join. I blinked down at the little cabin girl, rather at a loss to how I should respond. That's nice, I hazarded, and she nodded enthusiastically. Mama runs the boiler room. All the sailors are frightened of her, she told me rather wistfully. One day I will be like her. Elena made a mock fierce face, and I pretended to quake in terror until we both began laughing uproariously. I would like to meet her, I said, and Elena giggled with delight. I will ask, she replied. Okay. Maybe we can get this end of this trip to go a little bit faster. Hey, what does this do? Experimental hovercraft to launch from Yokohama soon. So we can find info like that from that. Ooh! That's good to know. But hey, we can actually get from Yokohama to Honolulu. Yokohama should... I think there is a bank, so we asked the bank for some money. Elena knocked on my door unreasonably early in the morning, eyes bright. Mama says she wants to meet you. She sees my arm. Will you come? Lead the way, mademoiselle! We descended in the bowels of the ship. I felt the heat and noise of the engine before I saw it. The rumbling whistle of the boilers, the shouts of men shoveling coal, the thumping of the pistons and the groans of metal. A woman with muscular arms sheen with sweat and hair shorn to her ears presided over the activity with well-worn confidence. She glanced over to us and grunted. I grunted in return, and she gave me a cautious nod of approval while Elena chattered away in an unintelligible dialect. The formidable woman regarded her daughter with certain detachment which masked deep adoration. The girl bloomed underneath her mamma's merest glance. We took our leave soon after, and Elena smiled at me radiantly. Isn't she wonderful? She breathed. I nodded enthusiastically, and Elena bestowed another bright smile upon me. Okay, soon we are at Yokohama. What if we just wait? Phileas Fogg attempts round the world adventure. Okay, so didn't get any good stuff from that. But good to know that we can get some stuff from them. Elena laughed as I hung over the ship's rail to get a better view of Yokohama as we neared the port. She gave me a hug goodbye, which surprised me, though her mother watched me with hard eyes through our exchange. We weighed anchor as the sun set. It lit the foreign flags in the harbor with bright fire as it dipped below the horizon. Oh, the bank is open on Monday. Well, it's Sunday. Let's see. When could we leave Honolulu? Tomorrow. at 8 AM. That's pretty early. Okay. So, well, we're gonna have to... Well, let's first see, can we sell anything here at the market? Anything that we're worth... Oh, sell for 430, yes! The Malachite chunk is not worth much here. Mongol Soldi, it's not worth much. This is not worth much pretty much anywhere. Yeah, we have 2 cases now. That should probably be enough. Yeah, we'll have to go to a hotel. We'll pass the night here. With the last light of the evening, I ran a few errands for the hotelier, earning 104 pounds. Ooh, that's nice. Okay, so if we depart now, we can head to Honolulu, and we have the money, and I'm pretty sure that they're gonna have like a bank in Honolulu. So let's embark right now. Ooh, this is gonna be rough, but yeah, we're still gonna do it. We just need to have to deal with Fog at every possible situation we get, so that his health doesn't go way too low. The Nolani was a new concept, we were told. A hover barge making the long-distance journey from Yokohama to Honolulu in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. If it only went further than Honolulu, a little bone-rattling for the sake of a few days' efficiency seemed a good trade to me. But the ship had only enough fuel for the journey, and even then, I think only just. It seemed a journey of bad omens, certainly. As we were loading our cases aboard, a shadowy figure approached me in the dark and pressed a monkey wrench into my hands. "What is this for?" I demanded. "Monsieur, if you are traveling aboard that craft," the figure said roughly, "you will require this, trust me." Without another word, they were gone. I mentioned no word of this to Monsieur Fogg. He would have found the event most uninteresting anyway. Then we boarded. We and the other passengers on this inaugural crossing must have looked pale and uneasy as we set off. Even the captain was sweating. No doubt the heat was to blame. Besides, standing next to the captain was our very own artificer, so what could possibly go wrong? And indeed, when disaster struck, its nature took us all quite by surprise. Oh, why does there have to be... let's deal with Fog. Let's deal with Fog. Why does there have to be a disaster? Come on. Not every experimental thing always has to break. The first day aboard was blissfully quiet. The ship bucked along across the waves, and I stayed at the rail. Probably should have stayed at the master, acclimatizing myself to the movement and enjoying the vast view of the ocean ahead of us. In the evening, I sat with a Mademoiselle Carlotta, a flashy American gold prospector who was apparently extraordinarily rich, though she carried herself like someone who had only come into wealth recently. Evening came with no sign of the artificer or the captain. Perhaps they were busy ensuring we stayed upright in the water. Okay, let's see. Deal with Fog. Should probably converse. Oh, should probably check if we can. Do we know anything away from Honolulu? Need to check that next. We noticed the trouble when my bread roll slid from the side of my plate and rolled against the side of the craft, quickly followed by another passenger's whining laugh. I stayed seated. It was clear enough what was happening. The entire ship was listing to the left. A moment later, a strange noise began to issue from the engines below. It sounded somewhat like a scream. The only other person in the dining car was the retired detective, Monsieur Jaffa. He gripped onto the table edge with whitened knuckles. "Monsieur, what is going on?" I demanded, but my master merely twitched his brow. The shrieking noise from the engine stopped, but the boat did not right itself. "Passepartout, perhaps it would be useful to ascertain the cause of this misalignment," my master suggested. "Yes, monsieur," I replied. I headed from the dining car to the engine room to find our artificer. Negotiating the corridors was a difficult proposition due to our stubborn tilt, but we were, I could sense, slowly moving back to upright once more. Perhaps we were not about to sink after all. Suddenly, Mademoiselle Carlotta leapt into my path. "Passepartout!" she hissed. "Mademoiselle, what is the matter?" I demanded. "I have just come from the engine room," she replied, her expression aghast. "And Passepartout!" She stumbled, her voice a tremor. "Mademoiselle, tell me, please." "It is Madame Shu, our artificer. Passepartout, she is dead!" I hurried to the boiler room, and it was true. Madame Shu was not only dead, the circumstances told a clear story. She had been murdered. The weapon lay close by. From the doorway, Mademoiselle Carlotta breathed. "That monkey wrench, Passepartout, it is yours, right?" I looked down. It's funny. At first I hadn't recognized because of the blood pooling around it. "But how did it get here?" I whispered. "What are you doing here?" Mademoiselle Carlotta replied equally quietly. She took a step away and then quite suddenly fled the room. I was left with body and weapon and terrible anticipation of what would happen next. Okay, okay, yeah, we know a way from Honolulu to the Americas. That's fine. But hey, I think we're actually gonna end this episode here and continue with this murder mystery in the next one. I'm Carp. This has been 80 Days. Goodbye, world. Thanks for watching. See you next time.